Hard to believe, but the last day of the trip is finally upon us. Normally I find this time quite difficult, but we've got quite a few exciting things going on back home. That said, I am pretty excited to pick back up right where we left off. Before we begin that, I would just like to extend a warm welcome to all of my returning friends and anybody that is new. Our little community tucked away in this corner welcomes you, and we're so grateful to have you. If you're brand new here, my name is Jessie, and our family lives in the Ozark Mountains. We're doing our best to create the best lives for all of our kiddos, fumble through this thing we like to call homesteading, and honestly, just enjoy the ride that most of us refer to as life. All right, let's jump into what we've got going on today. On our way home, I'm quite excited. We're kind of picking up from a couple videos ago. If you haven't seen it, I will link it in the description box, but our curtains that I was having made are finished. So we're going to grab those on our way back, and we are just going to pick back up where we left off in our dining room, really just laying down those foundational layers for autumn, aka spooky season. If you happen to miss it, I'll give you a quick little recap. First, we began by adding the first textural layer in the form of blinds. Next, we added a few frames. I didn't want the frames to match, but rather complement one another. While we were downtown, we stopped by one of my favorite print shops and gave them our paper to print off some of the images that I had sent over. I'm a big fan of printing your own images. When you're exchanging your artwork from season to season or year to year, this can be extremely cost effective, and the options nowadays are limitless. So I thought it would make for the most boring TV to film us hanging curtains, but I did get a few shots of the process along the way. Just know that it wasn't quite as seamless as it may appear. I love a good high ceiling, but it can sometimes make tasks a bit more difficult, on top of having a 6-month-old who constantly wants her mama. I have been eyeing units like these for years every time we visit antique stores. The only difference being I just could not leave this one behind. Believe it or not, the fabric from our curtains were hand woven and printed in India, and bizarrely enough, that's exactly where this piece was originally from. Somehow the two came from one place, made separate journeys, and returned back together, what seems almost serendipitously. And even better, they're both Ivy Sue approved. While we're on the subject of prepping for autumn's arrival, it's about this time every year that I like to brush off my caramel making skills. Homemade caramel apples are one of our family's favorite things to make once fall gets here, but we also love a good movie night, and as nightfall comes sooner and the evenings get a little bit too chilly to play outside for long, Halloween and spooky themed movie nights are a really fun pastime. One of our favorite things to snack on while we're watching said movies is caramel popcorn. On a completely separate note, our middle two munchkins are like two peas in a pod, and one of their favorite things to do together is forge through Blake and my closet in hopes of finding a pair of clothes that will fit whatever occasion they may be trying to suit. I'm not gonna lie, the room is still quite boring now, but for a brief moment, let's talk about curtains, because curtains, they can make themselves a big ol' impact in the room. I had my first lesson about curtains when I was about 18 years old. My grandmother had built a new home and she had tasked me with hanging all of her curtains. Little did I know what I had agreed to until I was knee deep in fabric. In spite of both our minds being graced with OCD, we got through it together. There are several schools of thought as far as how to hang your curtains and which curtains are the most flattering. Although many would argue the contrary, I think it's quite subjective. That said, I'm just going to share with you my personal taste and the way that I prefer to hang them. So the first place I like to start when talking about hanging curtains is height. As in, what height should I hang them? I like to hang my curtains as high as possible because this gives the room the appearance of a much higher ceiling. With that in mind, I had made the longest panel possible for the height of the ceiling. When it comes to hanging them, I hang them at the point where each panel just touches the floor. On another note, normally I wouldn't suggest having curtains on one window and not in the other in the same room, but in my situation, I think it works because when we built the house, I did decide to make the windows different sizes. The ones on the back wall that actually have the curtains are floor to ceiling windows. Because there are so many windows in this space, I feel like if I would have put curtains on every single one of them, it really would have overwhelmed the whole room. I realize this may bug some people, but again, I guess that's the reason why design is a preference. So every time I'm stepping into any type of antique or vintage store as of late, I'm really trying to keep in mind the inner workings that I've kind of conjured up concerning what I want the house to look like for this Halloween season. I'm not necessarily looking for things that might scream Halloween, but rather point to that direction. Things like old spooky books, tarnished candle holders, and aged autumn-inspired paintings or artwork can all be a great place to start. now I definitely realize the month of August has just began and we still have nearly a month and a half until the actual season of fall starts. Truly, the first chill in the air is my guide as to when it's okay to start decorating. Normally, I begin the process early in the morning and make sure to not leave a single window or door unopened. This, of course, ensures that I can enjoy every last bit of the dropping temperatures. The combination of the chill in the air, a hot spiced coffee, and the unboxing of nostalgic Halloween decorations, I'm convinced there aren't many things better. All of that in mind, I'm just giving off the hint of the autumn season within these shelves. There's plenty of work left to do as the true autumnal season draws nearer.